Welcome to Conversations with the Masters. We live in an increasingly technological world, but we live in a human world that's based on trusted relationships. And when it comes to accelerating innovation and growth, it's your people, it's your culture that will determine your level of success. Our expert today is Joey Havens, who will share actionable strategies teaching you to lead with significance by creating a people first culture. Joey is a great example of an anticipatory leader. As the executive partner of Horn, a leading professional services firm, Joey and his leadership team embraced the anticipatory organization concepts and learning system back in 2015. And thanks to Joey's passion for growing teams, developing leaders, and elevating culture, they've been on an award winning innovation and growth curve ever since. Joey is a top 30 practice advisor thought leader. He's on the National Elite Managing Partner list, and he's been rated as a top CEO in his state. His new book, Leading with Significance, How to Create a Magnetic People First Culture, is an Amazon bestseller. I highly recommend it. So let's get Joey on. Come on in, Joey.
Well, hello, Dan.
Hey, great to have you on. I've been waiting for this for a long time. You are such a great example of an anticipatory leader. And your journey of really looking at the future as you led your firm started way back in 2011, way before we ever met. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, Dan, let me first say I certainly appreciate this opportunity to be with you today. It's a very exciting opportunity, and I truly believe in what you teach, and we've seen the fruits of that. Back in 2011, we were doing a transition in the management of our firm, and I was being considered for the next managing partner at Horn. And we got to looking at what I called the perfect storm. It was a hard trend around people. Now, I didn't know what a hard trend was at the time. You taught me that later on. But we knew that the traditionalists, the baby boomers, were starting to retire at a very quick rate. The Gen X was a much smaller generation. And then we had the millennials just coming into the workforce. So we had this compression of bodies coming at a time when technology was just going crazy. And we knew that meant a lot of change. And so not only did we figure out with this perfect storm that we needed our culture to be stronger than ever, that we needed a strong culture so that we could take this technology and enable ourselves to be first movers. So it was early on that we really got to thinking about, okay, what's coming next?
Great. And then in 2015, again, you were one of the early finance and accounting area firms that really embraced becoming anticipatory rather than just reactionary. And you dove in head first. I mean, I know that once you really got the idea of the power of being anticipatory and how it tied into your 2011 thinking and gave you some clarification around some things, wow, you really took off with it. And I remember one of the things that you shared with me that I thought was brilliant, because you've always been so good at the culture and the people part, which we'll get into even more in just a little bit, was you had a contest. And I remember you calling me and telling me about this contest, and I loved it. And it was the idea, and again, I'll let you explain it, but it was a way of empowering all of your people. And if I remember right, there were some cash prizes here, and it was to identify hard trends and opportunities. Tell us a little bit about that, because you get the behaviors you reward. And so you came up with a reward, and then but you did it around a contest, which is, by the way, fun, engaging, competitive. In other words, it's all the elements that you want to bring people together and focus them. Tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. We had our entire firm go through the anticipatory organizational training, so it was common language, and that's important as you move into the future. Is what's going to be your language? What's going to make you distinctive? And so our teams have been trained in hard trends and soft trends, and so we had this firm-wide contest where they could form teams. You could only have one manager on your team, no partners or owners of the business, one manager, and then 6 or 7 other team members. This goes back to 2016, I believe, or 15. And we had, I want to say 20 teams, 19 teams entered the contest, and they had to come up with what is the hard trend that they are going to utilize in their scenario? What's the opportunity for our firm? How would they execute on it? And so we had some big prize money. We set up a team of judges, and I think out of the 19, maybe 17 got it to a product that they submitted, a white paper, and we judged those. And then the top 3 got to come to our leadership summit that summer and present in front of the entire firm. Now, back then that was 400 or 500 people. Today that's over 2,000, but every year we would have a leadership summit and bring everybody in. So the top 3 teams came and presented at the leadership summit. And I know the top 2 finishers dealt with recruiting. We changed how we were recruiting new talent using some technology and really going away from being on every campus to providing the students some opportunities to come and join us, both through technology as well as in our offices. And then we also, the onboarding, we changed our onboarding and actually moved to 2 days of mandatory onboarding, so that we did a lot better job of getting people on the same page culture-wise. So, I mean, it just had some tremendous benefits. It was a lot of fun. We paid out some pretty good cash money. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but it got people's attention, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can remember talking to you before when you were still in that process, and we got on the phone, and you said, "Wow, the ideas are so good. I got to put up more cash." And I remember you telling me that. And well,
we did. We doubled everything. The ideas were so good, we just doubled the prize money.
Well, see, that's just it. And the ones that were not selected in the finals are still there, being used by people, because again, what you were doing is stimulating internal innovation. You were creating intrapreneurs, entrepreneurs on the inside, which is, I think, even more important today than it was a year ago, or 2 years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. And really good. I can also remember early in your getting into the anticipatory organization and the learning system, you had got into separating hard trends and soft trends, and you came up with the idea from that the companies that are your customers, are mid-size and so on, they don't have a lot of really good help on cybersecurity, because the cybersecurity companies were all going for the big companies. They weren't helping the middle and the smaller. And you saw that as an increasing hard trend opportunity, and you ended up creating Horn Cyber. And if I remember right, that grew very rapidly right from the start.
It really did. We actually were very fortunate, and we found a team that was in an incubator. And so they had just come out, just kind of figuring out the market, and we were able to bring them on our team. But yes, our ability in cybersecurity came from looking at those hard trends and realizing every business is going to be faced with these challenges. And how do we serve our clients unless we have some knowledge on our team to talk about those kind of things? Because really it became and is in many ways the number one business risk outside your own team.
Well, one of the things that I think has helped you do so much, and I only even know a little part of it myself, is your focus on people. And let's talk a little bit about your latest book, which is really great. And first of all, the leading with significance is how you start that title out. And then, there's the subtitle. But let's talk about that leading with significance. I think all of the people that have been following me over the years, and in many cases decades, know that I've been talking about significance over success. And I'll just tee that up by saying success is all about you. How many degrees you have, how much money you make, how successful you are. And if it's a company, It's all about your company and how fast it's growing. That's success. But significance is about what you do for others. And when you elevate your significance, whether it's personal significance or whether it's organizational significance, you'll find yourself far more successful. And when you chose that as your title, I was just thrilled because you are a significant leader, as well as being anticipatory. And the idea of creating a magnetic, people first culture. I want to talk about that just a little bit. Tell me what you mean by a magnetic people first culture. What's the magnetic part? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, to me, that's the most interesting part because I really don't feel most people have really felt that. That magnetic energy is when people have such a strong sense of belonging, when leaders have really become vulnerable and they are connecting, they're intentionally, and that's a big word, being intentional. That's one thing you learn in the book, how important it is to serve and care for people in ways that demonstrate that they're connecting and that they care. When you have that kind of sense of belonging, it's then that people can see, hey, we're building something bigger than ourselves here. They start to provide discretionary effort. They start to share their ideas and their innovation. They run through the wall, as we used to say, run through the wall for us. That's what they do. That's the magnetic energy. Everybody gets to pulling in the same direction. Every voice counts.
Wow, do I love that phrase, discretionary effort, because it's going the extra mile. It's doing things. I mean, we all can do so much more, but what's motivating that? And financial reward, of course, is great, but there's far more than just financial reward and being connected to a culture. By the way, comment on culture as we are talking about this. I can get around a patent. So can anybody. If you got a great new product, service, or process, you know what? I can copy that. The thing that I can't copy is your culture. It's your biggest competitive advantage. So if you put time in on elevating your culture, you'll be doing amazing things. And as you're talking about this, you use the word feel. Feel. In other words, to feel part of it. To not just see a report that says you're part of it, or a value statement that every company has that says we value you. Yeah, well, if I don't feel it, I guess you don't. So what are some of the ways for the people that are watching this, and we have leaders watching this that would like to embrace this and really take hold? What are some of the things that are a warning sign that you're not there, you need to work on it, something that is would let you know, here's a step or two or three that I need to take to do what you're talking about?
Well, I think it starts with where we're at today. So let's think about this. Columbia University just released a survey, over 1,300 CEOs. 92% of them said culture is important to high performance. 91% of them said it's in the top 3 things for our future success. 79% of them, and I'm in this 79%, says it's the most important thing for future success. And 84% of them said they need to get it improved.
All right, wait. 84% of those that said this is number 1, number 2, or number 3 said it needs to be improved.
We've got to do better. They said that they know it. We inherently know it. Now, obviously with the book and everything, I'm getting the opportunity to talk to more and more business owners. I'm talking to more CEOs, more C-suite. And so one of the questions I always ask, Dan, is on a scale of 1 to 10, let's rate your culture today, and 7 being good, and 8 being really good, 9 being great, and 10 being magnetic. What percentage of those do you think are always good or above?
Well, most of them would rate themselves as good, probably, because they're not going to say, our culture sucks, especially if they're the leader. But
Right.
so, of course.
It's just like driving. When you ask people in a room, how many of you are better than the median driver? 80-something% of us say we are, and we look around the room and we can't all be in that group. And when you've got the great resignation going on, when you've got turnover increasing, when you've got client churn, when you've got toxic leaders, your culture, you can call it good, but my message is good is not good enough anymore. And so that's where it starts, Dan, is having the courage. And it takes courage. One of the other words I say besides be intentional is be bold. Have the courage to look at your culture. There are going to be things that you're doing great, but there are going to be things that are really bad.
Yeah, exactly. Long ago, there was a book called Good to Great, and it started out by saying good is the enemy of great. Well, what I would say is great is the enemy of extraordinary. And what magnetic really, another way of saying a magnetic culture to me would be an extraordinary culture. That's another phrase that I would give it. I'd call it an extraordinary culture because not many have it. And how do you get young people to want to go into whatever field, as a listener and a viewer of this, you have? And that is, it's going to be, of course, a focus that you're on the future. You're not in a protect and defend mode. Rather, you're in an embrace the new realities and extend them. So you're not just protecting the past. So that's number one. But number two, it's going to be, again, we live in a human world. Is this the kind of company I want to work with? And a lot of young people test the waters. They get in and you know what? They leave. And if you look at the number of smart people that you want as an employee that come in, and then after 2 or 3 years, they're gone, we just think, well, that's Generation Z. That's why, that's the millennials. No. I think that's a litmus test for how good your culture is. If you had a magnetic culture, I don't think they'd be leaving. As a matter of fact, as a leader of a magnetic culture, I'm guessing you want to make it kind of stupid to leave. Because this is where you want to be. Talk to me about what I was just talking about there.
Well, obviously, when culture gets strong, the stronger it gets, the less turnover you have. You're going to always have some turnover. People have life events and not everybody fits. There's hard decisions. You have to protect your culture. The culture is the soul of your organization, and it will be what you're intentional about, but also what behaviors you allow. And so if you allow team members, if you allow leaders to violate who you say you are and what you stand for, then your culture goes down to that level. And the beliefs and the action, people seeing is believing. And so culture is so important that we not only are intentional about the behaviors we want, we make the hard decisions about the behaviors that we don't want. And that's what, when people see that, they see that consistency in their leadership. See, that's the thing about the meaning and purpose that people are searching for today, is they want to trust their leaders. Now, am I going to trust you when you're allowing one of the other leaders to abuse people or to plug and play them? I like to say, just treat them like tools. Hey, somebody else will show up. No. They're not going to trust you. And so it's all about extending that trust, believing in the inherent good in people. And when leadership extends that trust and then demonstrates that they really care and they really connect, people return the trust. High trust organizations are high performing organizations. High trust organizations are sticky. People don't want to leave. I can't tell you how many people have left and come back to say, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I mean, some of our greatest performers today, left when they were 25 and thought, oh, the grass is greener over here. and we welcome them back. We don't burn bridges because we know some of that talent is just fantastic, and you need your stars today.
Yeah, you definitely do. Well, so what would be a good starting point? I mean, I know having advised a lot of companies at the top, one of the things that is always a conundrum is if you have a leader, I'm not talking about the CEO, but one of the top leaders who's toxic, who is that way, a lot of times they just leave them there. And one of the advice that I said is, you're better off paying them to leave, even if it's expensive, because that what's the cost of them staying? So what do you do if you've got some toxic leaders and or people like that? What do you do if you're a leader with that situation?
Yeah, well, it's that's probably the number one call I get from other CEOs and other C-suites is, "Hey, we've got this situation. What do we do?" And it is a matter of those one-on-one conversations. You've got to be fair from the standpoint. A lot of times, this person's never even received feedback that, hey,
good point.
So
good point.
It's really hard to say specifically what the route is, because that's where you start. Is this a surprise to them or not a surprise? Because they need the feedback to start with. But it can be everything from they've had chance after chance after chance, and they're not getting any more chances. So you have that hard discussion. As you said, you pay them to leave. And when you have a toxic leader leave, whether it's their choice or not, the magnetic energy in your culture, you can feel it.
Wow.
I'm going to use that word again. Your team, your other leaders, they feel it. I talked to a firm through this last year, and the CEO called me back and he said, "Joey, the next week, our firm was a completely different place. I had no idea how much negative poison, that negativity spreads everywhere."
Yeah, so important. You're also reminding me of really getting down to what the real problem is. That's one of the things that I like to talk about in anticipatory organization is, you got to dig down. The obvious problem isn't it. There's another one. And I remember you just reminded me, it's several years ago, but I was in a really big organization, and and it was a meeting. I was going to be speaking at it. I haven't spoke yet. And they pointed to an older gentleman in the front. And he said, well, he's on our leadership team, and he's got so much history, and he's so smart, but he hates technology, thinks the world's going to hell because of technology, and he's holding us back because he's in this position, but he's so smart and so much knowledge. We hate to get rid of him, but we don't know what to do. And I said, well, and they were kidding me. They said, and he's still got a flip phone. And so I walked over to him, and I introduced myself, and I said, do you have grandkids? That's where I started. I said, do you have grandkids? And he said, oh, yeah. And I said, are they, do they have a flip phone? And he said, no. They have an iPad. Oh, yeah, they're using iPads. They're using tablets. Are they? And we started talking about how he could connect with his grandkids more if he didn't have the flip phone. And then I started letting him see some things that he could do that were on the personal level. In other words, I was going for not business and money.
Right.
I was going for connection and heart. And it was a week after that, just 1 week after that, they called me and said, God, that guy's changed. He's got gizmos. He's got it. And one of the things I also said is, have your grandkids teach you. You've been teaching them all these decades. Why don't you become the student and say, I don't understand this stuff. I want to learn it. You'll have a better relationship. Hey, it changed that guy. It released him. So here's my point. Some of the people that may be holding you back, like a big brake instead of an accelerator, there's a way of maybe releasing them. And it deals with, once again, the human side, the feeling side.
Yeah, let me share this story with you. This is something that happened last week. I met a leader who had to make that hard decision about a toxic leader in their organization. And in fairness, he knew that they hadn't received all the feedback they needed. They had received some of it, but the leader seemed pretty interested in, hey, I want to be who I should be. This leader, think about this, and caring and connecting, sort of like you did, met with this, I'll call him toxic leader, every day for 6 weeks. Every day for 6 weeks to help step him through better habits, giving him feedback, celebrating with him, praising him. And he said, now, Joey, I admit, sometimes you can't turn somebody that is just ingrained to not see other people. But this leader became and is one of our outstanding leaders today. But now, how often? I mean, I've never done it. I have never met with a leader every day for 6 weeks on one matter.
You know, I know why that person did that. I already know why. He looked at him deeper. He saw in him that this could work, that it could be released. Because I think a leader has to look beyond the person. You're looking at the whole thing, at the whole picture.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of it. Look, I don't want to go any further without getting people excited about this book. Let's put on the screen Joey's book. Go to Amazon, pick it up. Leading with Significance, How to Create a Magnetic People First Culture. You will love it. I recommend it highly. All right, so let's get that baby. Secondly, Joey is giving away a couple of really great gifts for everybody in here. Let's put those up on the screen as well. One of them is the ABCs to Outstanding. That's an ebook. And the other one is 7 Best Practices for Remote Workers and Culture. I think those would be great because, you know, we're still going to have remote workers. And how do you maintain a magnetic culture when you've got people working remote? Well, I happen to know that at Horn, you did a great job of remote, especially during the pandemic. You were already, because you were anticipatory, you already had put into place the right tools, the right technology. You had people doing that. And I am sure those guides are extremely good. So I would download those and get those right away. So Joey, what are some things that the leaders that are watching this, are there any steps that they could take, like step 1, 2, 3 that you might give them for some actions? Because what I'd love to do is to make sure they're leaving our time together with, they have some actionable strategies that can put into place.
So 2 or 3 things I would like to share. And let's go through the steps as far as evaluating your culture and moving in that direction.
I love that.
So first, it takes a leadership team. And Joey Havens hasn't accomplished anything. I promise you that. It takes a leadership team and then the buy-in of your organization to make real things happen. And we talked about the first thing, having the courage to really undress, peel back the onion, and really look at the core of your culture and what can be better. And that became our rally cry, be better, because we wanted every day, we wanted to be better. And that's what we taught our people. Let's challenge each other. Let's be better every day. So the courage to peel back where you're at, the unity to come up with a compelling vision. What is your compelling vision about who you are? I mean, a lot of times we have values, but they're maybe not expressed in a way that people can connect to them. We haven't helped people connect their personal values to the mission, the firm values. What's our general purpose? What's our one purpose as an organization? So that compelling vision, I love for people to give their culture a name. I'm back to language, the power of language. And you know that, Dan, in teaching anticipatory skills, once people know the language of hard trends, soft trends, going opposite, skipping, that's when people start to connect and good things happen. Same thing in culture. People will start making it the primary focus. It has a name and you have language around it, and our words are powerful, and especially when our beliefs and our actions follow in that. So those are kind of some of the things. The reason I picked those two giveaways today, the first one, the ABCs to outstanding, something I love to teach to young professionals. A is attitude. B is better focus. And C is so important today, constant learning. And you know where we're at, Dan, on the learning curve. So we can jump into that in a minute. Then the other two, flexibility, remote work. Those 7 best practices are so critical because the more remote workers you get, that stretches your culture out further and further and further. And so those 7 things that I've got in there are so important, like clarity. You have to be ruthless on having clarity. And even as an organization, for the right kind of strong culture, clarity is so important. Empathy, that connecting, leaders connecting and really understanding who Dan is, who Joey is. Consistency. The reason so many good cultures don't perform and not high performing is because it's not consistent. Not consistent from leader to leader, not consistent from office to office, industry to industry. Just go through it. It's inconsistent. Onboarding, and this was one of the things that came out of our contest, how important that onboarding is, and what do you teach there, and how do you help people connect? Scheduled check-ins. Having those check-ins where everybody knows this is when we're going to do our check-ins. Recognition. People want to be appreciated. And, a lot of times our appreciation is just offhanded. We need to be specific about what we're appreciating and recognizing somebody for, giving them recognition. And have you ever thought about asking somebody, hey, Dan, what would you like to be recognized for? What do you think you've achieved this last week that has moved our firm forward?
Great question.
You're going to learn some great stuff right there.
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
And here's the hard one, because this is mindset. I can't change your mind. Dan can't change your mind. Mindset around excellence anywhere. Excellence anywhere. Kill that control bias. Kill that have to be present bias. That excellence anywhere, that mindset, once you understand that your organization can achieve excellence anywhere, that's when you start to move forward. You have to trust people are going to make mistakes, but you're going to learn from that. Learn fast, learn forward, learn together. And so that's why that excellence anywhere mindset is so important. Because let me say this, you're seeing in the headlines people saying, hey, all our people got to come back to the office. I think that is a very short-term, short-sighted decision. And you better be careful who comes back and who doesn't come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get on a slippery curve really fast because you're great people, even in a slowing economy. We're thinking, some of the organizations are thinking, hey, we're getting our leverage back. And we may get a little leverage back. Maybe 1 in 6 retirees are thinking about coming back into the workforce. That's a soft trend that can be played a number of different ways. And it's certainly a good opportunity for firms and businesses and organizations that think about that, how to use that brain power. But getting back to flexibility is here to stay, and people want to have input and autonomy Now, they've got to do it within their role and responsibility. It's a two-way conversation, but they want input and autonomy in how they integrate their career and their personal life. And flexibility is one of the things that we anticipated as the number one challenge in our profession back in 2014 when we rolled it out. And then obviously we had learned how to manage remote work when COVID hit. And so our organization actually took another leap in growth during that time because we could serve so many people.
Yeah, exactly. And if you got retirees that are thinking of coming back, they may want to come back, but they may not want to come back to the office. They may want to come back to the firm, which is two different things. But I love all of your points. Those are all really good. So remember let's put it up one more time. That download those two documents, because now we know what they have in them and they sound fantastic to me. Let's get those. And then let's put Joey's book back up there again too. You will love this book. It's outstanding. Pick that up right away. Really highly recommend it. The other thing that you have brought, I know you have a strong faith, and you brought that. It's not hidden. I think people see that. Now, again, you're not preaching a religion,
right?
And as a matter of fact, religion and faith can be two different things. But I think that comes through because it's part of who you are. Talk to me just a little bit about that.
Well, I'll start with Horn. I mean, we consider ourselves a faith-based organization. Our core values are God. We honor God in how we serve each other, and we honor personal faith because not everybody's going to believe the same way. We have all types of faith in our organization. Family, we serve our families. Serve, we believe that everybody is called to serve. We're not just getting back to the word significance, that it's not, we have two choices in life. And one of them is more money, more power, more titles, more whatever. And the other is a life of significance where we focus on our impact of elevating others and raising others. And you talked about something early on, Dan. Significance doesn't follow success, but success follows significance.
There you go. Absolutely true. Absolutely. Well, we're getting towards the end of our time right now, and you were amazing in this. Again, you are an extraordinary leader. You're an anticipatory leader, absolutely. And you are leading with significance. You are a perfect example of those things without question. And I think the whole focus on this discussion has been on culture and creating a magnetic culture, one that gets people to want to be part of it, have a sense of belonging. And that can all be done remotely as well as in person. And I really thank you for that. Any last comment to anyone out there that you want to throw out?
Well, I'm going to go to my rally cry, which is be intentional and be bold. We live in an exponential world, as Dan likes to say, and I fully believe that. And the mindset of experimenting, you're not chasing perfection. You're moving progress. You're looking to be first mover and to be people first. And so don't worry about getting it perfect. Worry about taking a step forward.
Really good. Oh, yeah. Very good. Thank you so much for being part of this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
You got it.